I'm Laura Lee McIntyre, and I'm Dean of the College of Education at the University of Oregon. And welcome to Coffee and Conversation, where I sit down with members of our community over coffee to talk about their research and its impact. I'm here today with Dr. Kathleen Lane. And Kathleen, I'm so happy that you're here with us visiting the University of Oregon from the University of Kansas. And you've just given our inaugural lecture as part of the Reschli Distinguished Lecture Series, and we're so pleased to have you here. So, Dr. Lane, you are a distinguished professor of special education and the Associate Vice Chancellor of Research at the University of Kansas. Welcome.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you hosting me, and I appreciate Dan and Chris Ann's generous donation that started this whole experience, so thank you.
Kathleen, one of the things I admire about your research is you really combine a focus on both academic, behavioral, and then also social emotional development in children and youth. And I know that you started out as a middle school teacher, middle school special education teacher. So tell us a little bit about that journey and how you ended up where you are today.
Sure. Well, I'm smiling because, a lot of people have these very planful, entries into education, and mine was more of an accident, but I did start off as a middle school teacher, and that journey really changed my life. As far as why that focus on tiered systems that integrate academics, behavior, and social and emotional well-being, actually that work was inspired by one of the professors here at University of Oregon. Hill Walker had put together this book that was used for the first time in a class taught by Frank Gresham where we went to school. And in the pages of those books, he had talked about, academic and behavioral systems being put together and introduced in schools. And we had the idea of, wouldn't it be great if we put it all together into one integrated system? So we had a chance to start in one elementary school. And I honestly, in a million years, would have never thought it expanded to what it is now. And the ultimate goal is to create these environments that are positive and protective and productive for not just the students, but also the adults, because we want to protect the adult well-being as well.
I love that your story started with really applied hands-on experience in a school. And oftentimes people get that reality check of what the needs are in schools and maybe the disconnect with what's happening in higher education and an academic environment. And you combined those passions of serving students in schools with what the research was saying about how to support students and systems. So Kathleen, you mentioned screening, and I know you said that screening is just a screening, it's not a diagnostic tool, but why is it so important to screen kids? And then what can we learn from the screening tool? What do we do with it?
From the adult perspective, we need to know what the student experience is. And I know in terms of universal behavioral screenings, a lot of people are now even more committed to that following the pandemic, so they get a temperature check as to how students are doing in terms of fall, winter, and spring screenings. And in our work, we get to partner with districts that are using these teacher-completed screeners, and they're used with other data collected as part of regular school practices, and they're accomplishing three things. They use it to look to see what's happening for that system as a whole, just like with academic screenings. If, for example, you had data that suggested, 40% of your kids were not where you wanted them to be for reading, that would mean I need to do something different for all kids. Similarly for those behavior screenings. The second way teachers can use them is to look within their own classroom, so they can look to see, in this class, I might need to make some adjustments like high rates of behavior-specific praise or do pre-correction. And then, of course, also use those data with other data collected as part of regular school practices to connect kids to additional validated support. So I really think the gift of screening is transparency, and teachers are privy to information that nobody else is because they're getting, presumably, 7.5 hours awake time with kids every single day.
So in your current role as a professor of special education, you train students and you prepare them to be future leaders and innovators in the field. If you had to give advice to future special education teachers, what would you share?
I would tell them to enjoy the journey. I feel like being fully present and in those spaces, they will learn not just what we're learning at universities and bringing in partnership with implementers, but they learn from their kids. When I'm writing articles to this day, in my mind's eye, I see the kids that were in my classroom. And I listened and had learned from them. And I think I learned a lot about what could be different and what could be better in the future from them. So I just encourage teachers to be present and to enjoy it. There's wonderful things ahead.
This has been Coffee and Conversation with Dean Laura Lee McIntyre and Dr. Kathleen Lane. Thanks for tuning in.